Yes, 10th chapter. Opulence of the Absolute. The last chapter we did, the 9th chapter was the confidential knowledge. So as we know, we are in the Bhakti section of Bhagavad
Prabhuji, you're
Gita.
on mute. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
No, we can
you
hear
hear?
you, Prabhuji.
Smita Mata, you cannot hear me. I think everybody else can hear me.
Okay, yeah, it's good now. Thank
It's
you,
good?
Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, we did the last chapter was confidential knowledge. And that's something we completed last week. And the last section that we did, 26 to 34 verse, were the essence, it's kind of so the obviously the middle 6 chapters are Bhakti Yoga. That's the most important chapter. 9 kind of being in the middle, and then towards the end of 9th chapter, the 24 verse is it's kind of the cream of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So 9th chapter, it ended with Krishna's instruction to fix our mind upon him. So that is manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mamevashyasi yuktvaevam atmanam mat parayana. So now, but then the question comes, okay, Krishna is saying manmana bhava. But then the question comes, how to fix mind on Krishna, upon Krishna. That will be elaborated here in this chapter. Right? He will speak about opulences upon which devotee can fix his mind. Generally, in this world, when we see something opulent, beautiful, or powerful, we don't see necessarily Krishna's hand in it, right? But when we'll read this chapter, please read it with the mindset that whenever you see something opulent out there, which is just magnificent, it attracts you, you see something beautiful, powerful. After reading this chapter, we will remember Krishna when we see any of that kind of opulence, right? Unfortunately, in this world, what happens when I see something, which is opulent, powerful, and beautiful, I generally tend to develop envy in my heart. Right? So when we'll read this chapter, we'll see that how Krishna's opulence is everywhere, and everything is because of Krishna's. Then that envy will reduce in our heart. You will see it as Krishna's manifestation. Right? It's called Vibhuti. Right? Vibhuti is opulence, Vibhuti. So when we love Krishna, there is nothing to envy. And when we envy, Krishna is not there. So we have this immense appreciation capacity in our hearts. And as it said, right, that in the whatever we appreciate, it appreciates. So whatever we appreciate, whatever we are appreciative about, we can also imbibe that philosophy, that same thing. In the Srimad Bhagavad translation by his Sridhar Swami Maharaj, it says that when you appreciate somebody for a quality, you kind of imbibe that quality in yourself. So appreciation is a very, very important attribute to have. When we appreciate others, we are high probability of they being our friends, and we being able to interact with them at a much healthier level. So appreciation capacity, we all have it, and we should utilize it to the maximum capacity. Right? So even in Shastra, we see, right, that when Hanuman was flying across Lanka, he saw that there is so much opulence there, and he saw Ravan. Ravan was laying on a bed made of gold, and there's jewels embedded in it, and so on and so forth. And Ravan was very opulent in himself, and so when Hanuman saw Ravan and his opulence, he was appreciative of that. And he was thinking that this person has so much power and opulence. Why has he not taken to bhakti yet? So that was the mood of a devotee. He was appreciating what he has, but he was also somewhere down deep in his heart, he was lamenting a bit that, oh, why hasn't this person taken to bhakti when Krishna has endowed him with so much opulence, right? When we go to other people's houses, we see there are so many opulent things. Some have indoor pools, probably sauna, jacuzzi, probably marble studded spa, or so much so forth. And I become envious of that. But if you look at it from a perspective of Indra, all this opulence is nothing. So even opulence has a hierarchy, right? And as a devotees or as practicing devotees, we are not impressed by that. So, so the attitude should be that, okay, everything is coming from Krishna, so I don't have to be impressed about it. Right? So, so we have to understand from that perspective that, you know, appreciating it because it's coming from Krishna, not necessarily appreciating the thing or the whatever the object that we're looking at, but appreciating that it's coming from Krishna. Right? Whenever Prabhupada saw any quality in anybody, and he saw that that person is inclined to use that quality in Krishna's service, Prabhupada was extremely appreciative of them. And an example is George Harrison. George Harrison was a devout follower of Prabhupada, and he to a point he even wanted he wanted to shave off his head, move into a temple, leave his singing business and so forth. Prabhupada said no to him. Right? Prabhupada said, if you come to bhakti, then you'll not be able to do what you're doing right now, because he was singing songs that were bhakti oriented. I have met so many Prabhupada disciples that tell me that they became devotees because they were listening to George Harrison and they heard the Hare Krishna mantra in there, which the song was "My Sweet Lord." Right? So, my sweet Lord, I really want to see you, and I really want to be with you, but it takes so long, my Lord. It was a beautiful song. And in the background, there was a choir singing. They were chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So I know so many, personally, I know many devotees who are listening to this song, George Harrison, and they became devotees. So similarly, we should appreciate it. Prabhupada was very appreciative of his skills of singing, his qualities that he had from Krishna. Right? So we all should develop this attitude whenever we someone with power, beauty, etc. Understand that it's Mama Tejo Amsa Shambhava. Krishna will say this in the last verse of the 10th chapter, this chapter. Mama Tejo Amsa Shambhava. That all that is a part of me. Amsha, only a tiny part of me. Right? Minuscule vibhuti. So I don't need to be envious. I can be impressed by how Krishna has blessed this other person, but not by the opulence per se, but by the endowment that he or she has from Krishna. So that is why that's the whole purpose of bringing these opulences right in the middle of the bhakti section. Krishna has talked of his opulences earlier also, but that focus was missing, the focus on Krishna, that he is the source of everything. That was missing. That is why we saw in the 9th chapter. Krishna had talked about similar things many times, but he didn't fully focus on it. He didn't just bring it right in this, it's me. So he didn't do that. That is why this section is the most important bhakti section. Right? And the way Bhagavad Gita has been flowing, if you see that, chapter 1, Arjun Vishad Yoga. So Vishad stands for lamentation. So bhakti is so beautiful, you can even connect your lamentation to Krishna. Spiritual life is so nice, right? Just 1 minute. Sorry. Okay. Yes. So as I was saying, so chapter 1 was Arjun Vishad Yoga. How can you connect your lamentation to Krishna? And then second was Sankhya Yoga. How can you connect your analytical abilities to Krishna? Third was Karma Yoga. How can you connect your karma, your actions? Then fourth and fifth were mostly Jnana Karma Sannyas Yoga and Karma Sannyas Yoga. So the development of detachment through Jnana. Then sixth was Dhyana Yoga, meditation. Then seventh was, we start learning about the Bhagavan feature of Krishna. 7th chapter onwards, because till the 7th chapter Krishna did bring himself, but he didn't bring the Bhagavan feature necessarily. He starts bringing that from the 7th chapter onwards. Then 8th chapter, at death, how to remember Krishna. And then 9th was Rajvidya, so best secret, best knowledge. So, and then that's how we come to the 10th chapter. So Krishna is basically building up a story where he's saying that how whatever situation you may be in, externally, internally, visually, intellectually, you can connect it to me eventually. That's the mood that Krishna is creating here. Okay, so let's see what we have. Where's that? Okay, so let's see the sections. So the chapter 10, the acronym is C. So as I mentioned, it's primarily about opulences. So Krishna is going to talk about that, how he's the source of everything. Then the verses 8 to 11, they're called the Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita. Chatur here means not the intelligent. In Hindi, we say Chatur is intelligent, but here the word Chatur means Chatur is 4. So Chatur Shloki. So 8, 9, 10, and 11, they're the essence of Bhagavad Gita. They give the entire Bhagavad Gita in a nutshell. And then we come to verse 12 onwards. That's Krishna is everywhere. So he's going to talk about his opulences. So that's it. And so that's the essence of this chapter, the summary. Connection of chapter 9 and 10. So as I mentioned, Krishna started by ended the 9th chapter that we should focus our mind on him, and then he'll describe opulences in this chapter, that how can we remember him, right? So we can increase our devotion by hearing about these opulences, which are all pervasive. Okay, so let's see. Where's that? So yeah, so he's source of everything, right? And essence of Gita, and then is everywhere. Yeah, so these three things. Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with the first verse. Anything on anybody's mind from our last chapter, or anything that you want to bring out before we get into the 10th chapter? Anything that was not clear from the last chapter, or the flow of Bhagavad Gita, or anything that you find off place? Nothing? Okay. So let's start the 10th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuya me Mahabaho Shirnu me Paramam Vachaha Yatyaham Priyamanaye Vakshami Hitakamyaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjun, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." Yes. So the theme of Rajavidya Rajguhyam is continuing here. Rajavidya Rajguhyam was the first verse of the 9th chapter. Rajavidya Rajguhyam Pavitram idam uttamam pratakshvagam dharmam susukham kartum apya. So that what the knowledge that Krishna is giving is susukham, and we can realize it ourselves. So here the theme is continuing. So it has a continuation. So it's very much like when we meet somebody for the first time, then we tell our name to them. Probably, in the second meeting, we get more close, oh, where are you from? Where do you work? And all that. Then later on, we became more intimate, we get more intimate details. I like this kind of food. And probably you talk a bit more intimate about, how you dealing with your family members, your children, your wife, so on and so forth. So it goes more and more intimate. So it's a generic discussion. It becomes intimate, more intimate, and then most intimate. So Krishna is also doing something similar. He starts revealing more and more as we move forward. Still, Bhagavad Gita does not reveal everything. The reason being, first of all, Krishna is a gentleman. As a gentleman, he will not talk about his own glories the whole time. He's not going to brag about him again and again. So he's a gentleman. And then obviously the Bhagavad Gita was spoken in a very short period of time. It was an emergency situation when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So Krishna gave an essence of everything. So when we read the Bhagavad Gita, it gives us the whole philosophy in a nutshell. But then how do you practically apply it? If you really want to know Krishna, then we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And if you want to know the mind of Krishna, you go to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in this chapter, you'll see that the content is very lofty and philosophical, but Krishna's mood is still very affectionate and intimate. So Bhagavad Gita is an extraordinary book because it blends scholarly knowledge with affection. It's a perfect combination here. So Krishna is now going to speak of his glories so that one can contemplate on them through his manifestations, right? So that's what it's going to be about. So let's see. So listen again, O mighty Armed Arjun, because you're my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Right. So yes. So I mentioned that Bhagavad Gita is a beautiful combination of erudition, scholarly knowledge, and affection, and that's the beauty of it. So just imagine if you have a friend, a very close and intimate friend of yours, okay, and one day you come to know that this friend is the son of the prime minister. Right? So you already have that loving relationship with your friend, but now there's a glory also in it. Oh my God, he's such a big shot. So that combination of love and glory, it increases the level of affection for Krishna. Aishwarya and Madhurya combination makes us love Krishna more. Sweetness and greatness combined. Right? So just imagine, Krishna is so great. He's saying, Api chet sudra charo bhajante manan bhak sadhureva samantavya. So even for a pure devotee, an unmeditated mistake, Krishna is able to forgive that. Mam hi partha vipashrita suya vipapyonyo. That I am, anybody can reach me. Yoga kshemam vahamyam. So many things Krishna said in the last chapter. So that shows his sweetness. And then we obviously we have read so much about Krishna's greatness, and we'll read more here. So Krishna, this combination is what makes Krishna unique and extraordinarily lovable. Aishwarya and Madhurya coming together. That's what we're going to see in this chapter. So what Krishna is trying to do in the entire Bhagavad Gita is he's trying everything he can to make us love him. Unfortunately, I still don't want to love him. I still want to scroll on Facebook. What's that? Reels, yeah. So yes, that's the level of ignorance that I'm living in. So here Krishna is starting on a very intimate note in this verse. He's again saying, hey, listen again to me. I know I've been telling you everything, but I'm very anxious to connect with you, and you connect with me. So Krishna is starting from a very intimate note, and he's saying that it's for where's that? For your benefit. Krishna is saying it's for your benefit that I'm speaking it. So that's a very intimate situation, right? Krishna is so anxious to give this knowledge to him that he says, I'm for your benefit, but I'm going to repeat it again to you. Right? So last chapter ending with the calling, and now Krishna is speaking more for him. So he's not like a professor at a university that it's all about money, and obviously professors also think about children, but there is a money aspect to it. But Krishna is not that. So here Krishna is, where's the phrases? It's hit kamaya. That's one part of the phrase. Hit kamaya means, hit means we all know it's what's that? For your benefit, right? And priya manaya, the other word, priya manaya. So priya manaya is thinking you dear to me. So it's a very kind of an intimate and a loving kind of a exchange now it has come to. The tone has changed significantly from Krishna in a very philosophical mood, dehinosmin yatha dehi komara, your body is changing, you are not changing, so on and so forth. From that philosophical Aishwarya viewpoint, he's come to a very loving situation now. So that's the essence here. And let's see what Prabhupada is saying. So Prabhupada is going to explain the word Bhagavan here. Bhagavan. So because, as I mentioned, this section specifically focuses on Krishna's Bhagavan feature. In the past, we have talked about the Paramatma feature, starting from the Brahman, the all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, the Lord sitting in the heart, and the Bhagavan feature, which is the complete feature of Krishna. So these three, so Paramatma and Krishna has talked about both of them, Paramatma and Brahman feature. This chapter, this whole section, Bhakti, is about the Bhagavan feature of Krishna. Right? And specifically this chapter, the opulences that Krishna is establishing are coming from his Bhagavan feature. Right? And Krishna wants us to understand that now. It's no more Paramatma or Brahman feature. He's saying it's all coming from me as Krishna. So that is why Prabhupada is giving us the definition of Bhagavan. So he starts with that. So the definition of Bhagavan is explained as one who is full in 6 opulences. who's full in 6 opulences, which is, and actually there's this, I think I put it in my slide. Let's see if I put it in my slide. I thought I put it in my slide. Yes, so this is the verse that Prabhupada is quoting. This comes from the Vishnu Puran. Aishwarasya samagrasya virasya yashashreya jnana vairagyaschaiva sanam bhagam itingana. That, so what is it? 6 opulences, Aishwarya. What is it that? Virya, Yasha, Shreya, Jnana, Vairagya. So and Aishwarya is riches. Yeah. So those 6 are the qualities of Krishna. He's complete in all of them. And that is why he's Bhagavan. So in this world, somebody might be, has a lot of strength, somebody might have fame, but nobody has all complete 6 in himself or herself. So that is Bhagavan. So Prabhupada starts by explaining who Bhagavan is, the principle of concept of Bhagavan. He's just reminding it to us again because we have a tendency to forget here. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. So an important verse here. Krishna is speaking, so not verse. Prabhupada is giving a very important section here. In association of devotees, right? So there's a verse in the 3rd canto, Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido. I think let me pull that up. So that also says something similar. And I always appreciate that what is being said in Bhagavad Gita has been expanded in great detail in Bhagavatam, and it comes with a lot of examples. So it enhances our faith. That is why reading the Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very valuable. So let me see, where's that verse? I was talking about 3:25. 25. Yes, this is the verse. Let me share my screen. So 3:25. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana katha tad joshnad ashva apvarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. In association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So, and what happens is Prabhupada is giving Shraddha, Ratir, Bhakti. So what is Shraddha? Is firm faith, Rati is attraction, Bhakti is devotion. They will come in that order to you. If we start discussing about Krishna and his pastimes in association of devotees. So establishing what Krishna is saying in the 10.1. So we are on 10.1, Pujamati, 10th chapter, 1st verse. So yes, so that's what Prabhupada is telling us. One should Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Quick question. So it says we should read in association of devotees. So what's the significance of reading in association with other devotees? I mean, sometimes reading independently, you get better concentration, and you can focus and you can absorb the information you're reading. So how does it benefit by association? Do you get others' inputs? Is that the idea?
So there is no harm in reading by yourself also. So that's not the point that we cannot read by ourselves. But the thing is that when we are the interaction, because when we talk with somebody, we see a completely different aspect of something that we are reading, for example. So the level of discussion really goes to a much higher level when we are discussing with other like-minded people, because they'll bring in their own thoughts and viewpoints about it. And then you will realize, oh yes, this is so wonderful. I didn't even think about it from this perspective. But when I'm reading myself, it's only me and my intelligence and mind with me. But when I'm reading with others, they can also offer more to me. So from the same readings, I can get much more in return.
Okay.
That's the reason. But yes, it doesn't mean that you cannot read by yourself. Obviously, we do all our reading most of the time ourselves. Right? And also, one more thing to understand is that association has to be, association just doesn't mean that you hang out with a devotee. Association means, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this in his book Jaiva Dharma, that association means when you're having an interaction which uplifts you, or uplifts the other person. So there has to be some upliftment in our level. It's
Sure.
not that I just, okay, hey, we both do service together and this is association. No, that's not association. That's just an interaction, but it's not association. Association is only happens when we are actually growing in our bhakti. Somebody who motivates me to be a better devotee, or who's giving me something that's going to help me be a better devotee. So that's association.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome. And you can read more of that 3:25:25, Prabhu. Prabhupada has a very good purport in there. He gives some more details about how, there are, because he talks from a perspective that we have to give up association of materialistic people and all that, because if we just hang out with non-devotees, they don't understand what we're talking about. So Prabhupada gives more details in there. You can read that from Prabhu.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, so reading with devotees is always very, very beneficial. And I really like this. I didn't highlight this, but this is interesting. Prabhupada says, let me highlight this section first. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjun that because Arjun is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking. I really appreciate the use of the word anxious. It's slightly an odd word you would use at this position. Generally, I have anxiety for material world. I don't have any anxiety for bhakti or my bhakti related services. I'm not like for my job. I'm always anxious. Oh, will I lose my job? Will I get my promotion this year? So and so forth. But for my Krishna consciousness, I'm not like losing sleep over my service and that my goals are not being fulfilled in bhakti and so forth. So Prabhupada is bringing out this very important word, not important, even it's more enigmatic, that anxiety. So normally anxiety is undesirable, but if you convert that to bhakti, it's very, very purifying. So, when, for example, let's say somebody is giving a class in the temple, that person will be anxious. Oh, I have to give a good class. There'll be so many people listening to me. And that is very purifying, because I'll be thinking about it for like probably a few days till the class happens, right? His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was here. Devotees were anxious that I wish I serve him properly. I should give my best. So there is some anxiety there. So all that anxiety is very, very beneficial. It's purifying for us. So if I'm not in Krishna consciousness, then I'm in material consciousness, and then I have material anxieties, right? So, but then initially, what happens in bhakti process? Initially, we have to force it on ourselves. Not even force it, I would say, more like do it consciously. Do it consciously. But then out of love we become anxious for Krishna, right? So for our level, the level that I am at, the beginning neophyte levels, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says, Yena kena prakarena manha Krishna niveshayit. That some way or the other, focus your mind on Krishna. But people who are advanced devotees, for them 24/7 is Krishna bhakti. For them, there is no material in Krishna. There is fully 100% Krishna. And we also can become by that, by this specifically this chapter in this section that we are reading of Bhagavad Gita. So yena kina prakarena manha Krishna niveshet. Somewhere or the other, bring Krishna in your mind. And then we will continue to grow in our bhakti. Okay. 10.2. Name vidhu suragana prabhavam na maharshaya aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvasha. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Sometimes we hear verses that Krishna is speaking and we find no connection in them. We say, it doesn't make sense. Why did Krishna just bring this up here? But we have to realize that Krishna, whatever Krishna says is perfect. Everything is connected. So, but then we have to delve deeper into it to understand why Krishna is saying this or what does this mean here. For example, Krishna just came from a point where he's telling Arjun that listen to me, I'm speaking it for your benefits. And now suddenly he's telling that, I'm the source of all the demigods. So that it just doesn't seem a bit connected. So, but the reason that Krishna suddenly brought this up, Devtas and Maharishis, Krishna is saying, I'm not even known by the Devtas. And what to speak of Devtas, I'm not even known by the Maharishis. So Devtas, as we all know, people, the demigods, they are high in power. They've got a lot of powers. But they also bow down to rishis. For example, Indra bows down to Bharaspati. So rishis are higher in knowledge and renunciation. And Krishna, they don't know Krishna. Why they don't know Krishna? Because Krishna comes before them. Even Maharishis come after Krishna. So Krishna is revealing that what he is about to speak, others don't know about it. That is why. So that's the connection between the first and the second verse. Krishna is saying in the first, listen carefully to me, I'm giving you a knowledge. And the second one, he's telling these guys also don't know it because I was even there before them. So what I'm going to speak, even these other devotees don't have it, don't know about it. It's such a guhyam. It's such a confidential knowledge that Krishna is the source of all source, cause of all causes. And in the 8th chapter, Krishna gave a verse. He said, Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram Anor Aniyamsham Anusmaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataram Achinta Rupam. I forgot the last line, but that was 8.7, 8.8 or 8.9. So there also Krishna says, I am Puranam, right? I am the oldest. Right? That's so a very clear verse that talks of Krishna's qualities. 8th chapter, 8 or 8.8 or 8.9. So Purana, that he's the oldest. In 4th chapter also he said that, I gave this knowledge to the Sun God. So it demonstrates that Krishna is the original person, right? We even see that in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Indra and Brahma both are bewildered by Krishna. Right? So Brahma, all the demigods are glorifying Krishna because he's killing the asuras, all the asuras, the demons, and Brahma is thinking, that, hey, let me go and see who is this Krishna. He's supposedly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me go and see him. And what does he see? A child. He's got food in one hand, food in the other, and he sees all of them. Can you all hear me? My internet connection is stable. It's not stable.
Yes.
Okay. There was no break or anything.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
they were just for a very brief break.
Okay. But hopefully we didn't lose anything there. So yes, I was saying as how Indra and Brahma are bewildered also. So Brahma, when he came back after a year, he saw that all the cowherd boys and the calves were there. And then Krishna showed him that all of them are his amshas, they're his part and parcels. They're Vishnu Tattvas. And we saw this. And then there's a story that we also hear that how Prabhupada talks of this in one of the purports, that how once Brahma goes to meet Krishna and he tells the guard of the palace and he says that, let Krishna know that Brahma is here. So the guard goes in and then when he comes back, he asks, Krishna is asking, which Brahma? And that bewilders Brahma again. He said, what do you mean, which Brahma? I'm the four-headed Brahma. I'm the only one here. And then Krishna goes, and then he goes to Krishna and he asks Krishna, what do you mean by that? Which Brahma? And Krishna tells him, and Krishna actually shows him. He immediately just meditates and invites all the Brahmas from across the universe. And they're Brahmas with 16 heads, 100, 200 million, so on and so forth. So Krishna cannot be known by these people, these living beings, these devatas and rishis, because Krishna has existed way before them. So he's Puranam. That's the reason Krishna is bringing out this concept here, that even devatas don't know me, Maharishis don't know. Right. So let's see what Prabhupada has to say here. Okay, they can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism, of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature, or they can imagine something by mental speculation. But it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. So so in this universe, we see two concepts already we talked about, right? The Paramatma and the Brahman concept. Paramatma sitting in my heart is the overseer. Upadrashtanu mantacha bhakta bhokta bharta bhokta maheshwara. This comes in the 13th chapter. When we'll come to it, 13th chapter, 23rd verse, that the role of Paramatma is mentioned there. Upadrashtanu manta. Upadrashtanu means overseer and permitter. So the Paramatma, that's the role of Paramatma. Brahman is the all-pervasive spirit. So these are the two broad concepts that you will see across this world when it comes to religions. Wherever you see, right? For example, Christianity, Islam, they think of God as Brahman. He's all pervasive. They don't think there's a form to God. So these are the primarily two broad concepts in religion, Paramatma and Brahman. But there is no personal attribute described anywhere except Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna, in all the other religions, Krishna is God is talked of as a power, not as a person. Right? If all of you, if anybody has read the Old Testament, in the Old Testament of Bible, there are stories of how Jews are rescued by Moses from Egypt. They were slaves and he takes them away. So, but then Moses never sees God. All Moses sees is he sees representation, the power representation of God. He sees a burning bush. And because the bush the fire never goes away. So you think, oh, this is God presenting himself to me. When the Egyptian army was after Moses and his people, the sea parts up. It opens up for him to pass through. So this is a power exhibition by God. But then nobody describes how God looks like. So what Prabhupada is saying in this quote here is that if we speculate, we can only go to an extent where we can speculate of God as a ruling power. But we cannot come to a conclusion of a blue complexioned boy with a peacock feather in his head, with the flute tucked in his dhoti, and with a morsel of food in his hand. We cannot think of that. For that, we need Krishna's mercy. Right? And that mercy is unconditional. So all we have to do is just keep doing our bhakti to the best of our capacity, as sincerely as we can, and Krishna's mercy will come. When it comes, I don't know, but it'll come for sure. So that's what Prabhupada means from this statement here, that it is not possible to understand Krishna by speculation. Okay, let's see what else Prabhupada is saying. The conception of God as some ruling power or as the impersonal Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. So continuation to what Prabhupada has said earlier. Because most men cannot understand. Yes, Pooja Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I was wondering, is it possible to be able to, can someone be able to perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but be operating in a mode of darkness?
Well, that's a bit of a contradiction there that I see it. How can that person consider Krishna as a supreme personality and still be in a mode of ignorance? Like,
Well,
do you
I-
mean like, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like, from the level of your soul and like whatever transcendental activities you've done life after life, like you can understand who Krishna is and like that resonates with you. But like due to your lack of knowledge and how you're living, like you're really conditioned like in darkness.
So they might be able to understand Krishna's Paramatma feature or the Brahman feature. So if they are in ignorance, still we can understand that there is a supreme power who's there's an intelligence behind this creation, let's say, for example.
So
If
if
I'm in,
anyone, but what if someone understands Krishna but like does bad things?
well,
Like understands Krishna but engages in criminal activity.
how would that's contradictory, right? That's what I'm saying. If
Not
I understand
necessarily.
Krishna, if I
Like you can
understand Krishna,
understand that.
so
You can
let's look
understand.
at it from a material example. If I understand the rule of the government, would I still go against the rule of the government? If I understand that if I do this, I will be punished. There is a government there who are very benevolent to the society, but still, despite knowing all the consequences, I will still do something bad.
I think that at least in the United States, like a lot of people still will.
Yeah, but then that becomes that they are victimized. Then they even though so for some cases, yes. So now if
Mm.
I say that, which verse was that? What happens is that initially when I come into the world, I feel that I want to enjoy things here. But then a point comes that I don't want to enjoy it, but my mind doesn't let go of those things. Prabhupada calls that as, if I could find the verse in the second chapter, there is a verse purport where Prabhupada calls it chained victimization. So what that means is now that I'm a victim to my mind and I'm constantly doing things which I'm not supposed to do or which are not so in that case you can think it from that perspective that I have come into bhakti but still I have not yet been able to give up my bad habits. From that perspective, if you mean, yes, that could be there. Like for example, I am right. I'm not a devotee. I do many things that are contradictory to bhakti, but I still cannot control my mind. From that perspective, yes, it's okay. That can be done.
Okay, I think this is what I was
Yeah,
inquiring about. So
yeah.
thank you so much. Hare
So
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And I think let me so Prabhupada that was verse 50, second chapter, verse number 50. And if I can share that, I can. So here Prabhupada says, since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of the action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. So I have come to bhakti, but I'm not Krishna conscious yet. I have come to bhakti. So I'm still a chained victim of my actions and reactions. But if I continue in bhakti, my actions and reactions will purify and I'll come to the level of a devotee. So from that perspective, you're right. We can do bad habits still while theoretically at least knowing that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead.
Okay,
Okay,
that makes sense. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so that was Prabhupada there, brilliantly explaining us that we need Krishna's mercy to understand him. Okay, coming to verse 3. Yomam ajam anadim cha veti loka maheshwaram asamuhudha samarteshu sarva pape pramuchyate. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme lord of all the worlds, the only undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. So now Krishna, this is continued from the second verse where we just read that nobody knows him. But still, if we come to know Krishna, there are a lot of benefits. So Krishna is going to talk about those benefits here. So first thing to understand is that Krishna is beyond dimension of time. Dimension of time is in the material world only. It's not in the spiritual world. So Krishna is not affected by that time. Sometimes people ask that, oh, if Krishna made this world, who made Krishna? So this making and destruction, this only happens in the material world. It doesn't happen in the spiritual world. So that question doesn't make sense. It's a, how do you call that? Non sequitur. Can a square be a circle kind of a question? So Krishna is beyond the dimension of times, and he's saying he's Ajam and Anadim. Ajam and Anadim. These are the two words he's using here. Unborn and without a beginning. So Ajam and Anadim can also be used for the living entity, right? Some people, because we are also Anadi. We also don't have a beginning. I don't have a beginning. My body has a beginning. It has an end. I've had many bodies that have had a beginning and an end, but me as a soul has no beginning and an end. So somebody can ask this question, right? Oh, even you are also Adam and Adi. Some impersonalists might come and bring this up. But what Krishna highlights here is that he is Loka Maheshwaram, which I am not. Krishna is Loka Maheshwaram. So Loka Maheshwaram means Krishna is saying of the planets, and Ishvara is the supreme master. So even I am Ajam and Anadim, but I am not Loka Maheshwara. That's only Krishna. So Atma is not Loka Maheshwara. So Krishna has used this phrase Loka Maheshwaram earlier also in the 5th chapter, to the last verse of 5th chapter, 29th verse. Krishna says that Bhuktaram Yagyastapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhirdam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatmamam Shantim Rachati. So one who understands Krishna's position, what is that person? He becomes Asamudha. Asamudha. Asamudha means undeluded. So right now I'm deluded. I'm deluded because my mind is able to, well, not because, but my delusion is coming because of my ignorance, which is deeply entrenched in my mind. And the cycle has been reversed. Instead of me controlling my intelligence and my intelligence controlling my mind and my mind controlling my senses, it has become reversed. My senses are controlling my mind is controlling my intelligence, and I as a soul have been deluded. I think what my mind is presenting me is correct, but that's not the right way, right? The right is that it goes from soul to the senses. So delusion, that's what I'm suffering from, delusion, right? So asamudha, so I become undeluded. And the other thing Krishna is saying, marteshu. Marteshu is, what does this mean? Marteshu, among those subject to death, right? So he's saying undeluded and what is that? Samirteshu. Samirteshu. Asamudha samirteshu. So all people are Mriteshu, but when we come to know Krishna, we'll become free from all sins, right? So we'll become Amriteshu, kind of. We'll get our original position, and we'll not be, never be subject to birth and death, at least in the bodily platform. Right? So we'll be free from that. So Krishna is saying that. So how does knowledge of Krishna purify us? So basically, if I say purification, impurity means when we have misdirected world desires, misdirected desires for worldly objects, actually. When we come to know Krishna, we transform. It's not just theoretical, right? As pure desire becomes stronger, we become free from sinful reactions. As we keep on moving forward in our bhakti, we get more and more purified. So even if we don't get bhakti immediately, but it can be awakened by hearing. Now, the verse that I quoted, 3.25.25, Krishna says, no, sorry, not Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami says, Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukramishyati. Anukramishyati means in an order. What comes in an order? Shraddha, that's faith. Ratir, attachment. Bhakti is devotion. That comes. So our purification happens accordingly. Initially, I don't have faith, but my faith grows stronger. And faith always comes from introspection and by observation. When I see that Krishna's hand in everything that's happening around me, and I take lessons from that, my faith gets stronger. So, and then the attachment comes, and then bhakti comes. So that's what Prabhupada is explaining here. Sorry, Krishna is mentioning here, that it's purifying, right? Yeah, let me see. Ajam. Yes, Asmita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So you
Hare
said,
Krishna.
you had just said that everything we do comes from faith, from Krishna. So what happens to those who are in, I know you just explained it, but they're already in, I guess, somewhat Krishna consciousness, and they still revert back and do the same mistakes over and over again. So what about those things?
So if
Like
I
how does
understand,
faith play? How does
yeah.
faith play a role in someone making the mistakes?
Well, if we are making mistakes again and again, then we don't have faith, right? Our faith is not strong enough. That's the thing. Because when faith becomes strong, so initially what happens, our faith is weak, right? It's faith, the faith is very much like a banana tree. Anybody can root it. A small wind blows, it gets uprooted. But when we keep practicing bhakti consistently, then our faith becomes like a banyan tree. Nobody can shake a banyan tree, right? So our faith grows. It's not a unit, a complete unit in itself. It keeps growing, right? So a time will come when we are not shaken up by that, by anything that from material, all the things that are hitting us all the time. So a time comes when our faith will be strong. So we'll keep falling, but as long as we don't give up the path, then it's okay. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll ask later after you finish.
So what I was saying is that Krishna says this, and let me. I'm sorry if it's too many verses that I bring out, but I like doing that. I like connecting verses here and there. So I'll show you a verse which Krishna talks about in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks something similar to what you're saying. And it's a very hard touching verse. So let me share this. This is 11th canto, verse number 20, chapter number 20, verse number 27 and 28. Krishna is saying, he's talking to Uddhav right here. Having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So this is a position that I am in at this moment. My faith has not fully, so I have faith in Krishna, but then I'm not able to control my mind. I keep going back to my sensory enjoyments. But the good part here is that Krishna is calling that he's my devotee. Krishna is calling me his own. So what better than that? I'm Krishna's. Yeah, I have faults in me, but I'm not. That doesn't demotivate me because I'm Krishna's. So hope this verse kind of helps out a bit.
Yes, it does. So the second question I had was, I hear, right, every now and then that when it's your time, you will become purified and you will just stick with it, right? Sometimes you want to make it like as soon as possible, but like it says in here, right, that we get shaken up every now and then. I guess the only best way to go towards the path faster and steadily is just keep at it.
Yes, that's the best thing to do. So I've mentioned this in the past. I'm not sure you joined in a bit late, but 3 qualities Prabhupada mentions across his literature. Sadhana should be strict, serious, and sincere. That's all Prabhupada tells us. That's all Krishna is asking for us. Krishna doesn't want me to be perfect. You mentioned that, okay, one day we'll be purified. Krishna is not even asking me to be purified. Right? as when we have children, we don't expect our children to be perfect. We want them to just listen to us. That's all. I don't have any problem with children making mistakes. They're not perfect. I also make mistakes. I'm old enough now to, people think I'm old, but I still make many mistakes. That's not the problem. The problem is when I think that I can figure it out for myself. That's where the problem comes. That's what creates a distance between me and Krishna. When I'm strict, serious, and sincere in my sadhana, sincere means whatever best you can do in the current time, place, and circumstance that you're in. You try to do your best, and that itself is more than enough for Krishna to be happy. If you make purification a goal, that can be very demotivating sometimes. You can keep asking, oh, why I'm not pure yet? I've been doing bhakti for the past 10 years. Krishna, what's going on? That should never be our goal. Our goal should only be service oriented. We should just try to be our best we can, and that itself will please Krishna more than anything. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Just the, I guess my heart, just eagerness kind of thing,
Yeah, and I understand that, being eagerness is there. I know that you have an eagerness to move forward on this path, but you have to understand that I'm not in control. My speed is, so how fast I move on bhakti, I only have a very small fraction of contribution to that. And the small fraction I said was being strict, serious, and sincere. All the other part, whether my conditions are going to be same, or like, is everything going to be perfect when I wake up tomorrow morning? A couple of weeks ago, so I do my chanting every day in the morning. I make it a point before anything, before I kick off any activities, I do my chanting completely. I do my reading and hearing. One day I was at the gym, I kind of sprained my back, and then I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't wake up in the morning, and my whole system, schedule was disturbed. But if I say, oh no, I'm perfect, I'm going to do it, it doesn't add on, it doesn't help me. So I have to keep that flexibility where Krishna can come in and help me out. If I become too rigid, it becomes hard for Krishna to come in and help me out.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, true. I have the same problem in the morning, like every day. If I'm going to work, then I finish up at least 10 of my rounds in the morning. But if on Saturday, Sunday, it's very hard because you're procrastinating about getting up. So yeah. Okay. So thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm not sharing my screen. Just give me 1 second. So so this is this third part. So Ajam and Anadim, Krishna is telling that I am the unborn and without beginning. I'm the Loka Maheshwara. That's his additional quality, which I as a living entity don't have. And the result is that I become Asamudha, and I'm no more a part of this Mrityeshu cycle. So that's what Krishna is saying. So this purport is, if I'm not going to go through the whole purport, but Prabhupada explains each and every single word that from the verse. He talks of Aja, and then he'll talk of Anadim and Veti Lokam. He'll talk of everything in detail. So please read this purport. I hope you all are reading it. So please, I don't say this every time, but before coming to the class, at least read, the next 8 or 10 verses. It's just so that you're already in pace, hit the ground running. So Prabhupada is bringing out this very important question here. Sometimes people say that, okay, how can Krishna be unborn when he was born as a son of Devaki? Everybody saw that. So that is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudev, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transformed himself into an ordinary child. So Prabhupada is explaining that we have to understand that Aja, so means he's unborn, but then Aja is contextualized. Whenever we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, we always read as unborn Vishnu, unborn Lord Vishnu took birth. So it's very contextual. It's a Leela. It's a pastime Krishna is executing. Right? So it's never that Krishna is born, but he's just executing. Right? He want to be a part of the way things work in that area, in that society. He's not like, oh, if he just appears one day out of nowhere, that's going to just confuse everybody. So he said, okay, I'll take the normal path. I'll be born like a normal baby. Right? So that's why even though he's supposedly unborn, but he's unborn, but he supposedly seems to take birth. Okay, let's see. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Real auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness in full devotion and service. So Prabhupada is saying everything is inauspicious. What does that mean? So there is a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu says, "E bhala, e manda, e sab brahma." He says, "E bhala, e manda." So when you say bhala means good, manda means bad. So e sab brahma, it's all an illusion. There's nothing good, nothing bad in this world. It's all an illusion. So in a more, if I put in a more vernacular term, it's basically this world has no color. I put color to it, the way I see it. It's somebody, somebody sees a McDonald's and they start, salivating. I'm hungry. They want to eat. A devotee sees that and the devotee feels like vomiting. What's this? You're practically, it's like a sin factory out there. So there is nothing good or bad. Everything is very much like a dream, right? So it's like in a dream, my dream might be a horrific dream or it be a pleasant dream, but ultimately it's just a dream, right? It doesn't matter. Okay? So goal of life is not to get a dream. It is to wake up from the dream and be rejuvenated. So the goal of life is to wake up from this dream. When we are separated from Krishna, everything is Maya and inauspicious. Rite artham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyadatmano mayam yatha bhasho yatha tama. In the second canto, there is a verse, it's Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, second canto, 9th chapter. There is a verse where we are told that Krishna is talking to Brahma. And so he's telling that Rete artham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani. That whenever you see something that has no connection to me, right? That is ignorance, that is darkness. So it's not about that thing is good or bad, it's just that whether it has a connection to me or not. So when there's no connection to me, it is Maya. So auspiciousness is connection with Krishna. Basically, that's the essence here. That's what Prabhupada is telling us here. That auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness, in full devotion and service. So nothing good, nothing bad. It's all Krishna conscious. It all depends on how we see it. We see it in bhakti, then it's auspicious. And another statement Prabhupada makes here. Oh yes, it continues here. I didn't highlight that, but this continues here. This section. Therefore, if we at all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Such directions are given in the authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. So auspiciousness and inauspiciousness should be done under the guidance of a guru. I cannot figure it out myself. So whether we are initiated, even with non-initiated, it doesn't matter. We have Prabhupada as our guru, but it has to be done under the guidance of a guru. So that's what being talked about here. Okay. Anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the man who has simply taken the dress of a sannyasi or a pseudo yogi. I've mentioned this in the past. Sannyasi, the word sannyasi, son of that word means complete, and ayasi means the right place. So a person who knows what is the right place for everything is a sannyasi. So we all can become sannyasis, even though we might be in grastashram. We can become sannyasis, at least conceptually, at least from our heart, by using everything for Krishna's service. Then we can become a sannyasi and a yogi. So as Prabhupada is telling us, anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi. So we all can be sannyasis. So now text 4 and 5 is together. I'll read that. So in this sections now 4 and 5 and 6, Krishna is going to mention how everything comes from him, but he's going to talk about in this verse. He'll talk about 4 and 5. He'll talk about the qualities, okay? Abstract qualities that Krishna. They are also coming from Krishna. Let's see what all qualities Krishna is talking about. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. Yes. And then Prabhupada again, through the purport, he goes through every single word of them. He gives an explanation to every single word. Intelligence refers to the power to analyze things in their proper perspective. And knowledge refers to understanding what is spirit and what is matter. Right? So buddhi is intelligence and jnana is knowledge. So jnana, knowledge, means to understand things in their constitution, right? What is their actual in their spirit, right? So what is the spirit and what? So that's knowledge in their constitution. So matters, there are matter, spirit, and controller, right? So that is knowledge. Intelligence means to understand things in their proper perspective, right? How do you prioritize and harmonize things, right? I might have the knowledge, for example, that I have to use these things for Krishna's service, but whether I use them or not will only be possible through my intelligence. I'll prioritize things, I'll harmonize, I will make my work, professional work, as much as conducive to my bhakti. So that comes from my intelligence. So so all these qualities are coming from Krishna, right? So let's see what else can we. Let me see if there anything else. Okay, one should. This is sama. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. So, which attribute do you think this talks about? All of you who have read the Nectar of Instruction, you have done that. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. What do you call a person who spends a lot of time trying to accumulate? Anybody remembers the word?
Greedy?
Ready, yeah. Touche.
I'm saying specifically from Nectar of Instruction, the second verse of Nectar of Instruction is a word that we used, that Rupa Goswami used, not me.
Can we have a hint?
Well, I think you were not there for our Nectar of Instruction reading, so, but I'm asking for those who were there. If I give the hint, I'll just give them. I just gave a hint, right? It's the second verse of Nectar of Instruction. If you know the Nectar of Instruction, you would know the second verse.
Rosie, the
No,
second verse is Atyahar Prashya Prajalpa Niyamagra.
Yeah, so which word of that means over accumulating, over earning? Which of that word means that?
Prayasha, over and over.
Atyahara. Atyahara means accumulating more than that's necessary. But yes, prayasascha, you can say the thinking power. Yes, you're thinking too much about. So that's also. So yeah, those two words. So atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyam agraha jansangha cha laulyam cha sadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. That destroys our bhakti. So there are 3 books that, you know, we, at least I have tried my best to memorize. And if you all can, that's also very beneficial. That's Nectar of Instruction, Ishopanishad, and Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita, we don't have to memorize everything. There are some set of verses that we chant, right? You all must have heard some Brahma Samhita recitations. So these 3 books we should know. They serve as a very good toolbox for us. So yes, this is coming from. So this is Atyahara directly that Prabhupada is mentioning. Ahimsa, non-violence, means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Yep. So misery is misery means psychological, right? So psychological violence kind of thing, you can say. Misery is psychological. Confusion is intellectual. So we should we should avoid this. We should not put others in a misery or in confusion. And impersonalists, they do that. They create confusion into people's lives by giving a very vague presentation of Krishna, of God. So they're creating confusion. And even miseries are created. When there's some religions, just to spread, they used violence. And there were people who were suffering. And even in India, when Mughals came, they forced people to convert their religion. So it was violence. That's ahimsa. So that all we should avoid. Yeah. So that which furthers the future spiritual happiness of people in general is called non-violence. So non-violence means spiritual, it gives spiritual happiness to people. That's non-violence. So whenever we do our services, all preaching activities that we have, so many, book distribution, prasadam distribution, we are trying to create spiritual happiness. So we are working according to what Krishna is teaching us, and it will make us asamudha samirteshu, which we read in the last verse. Okay. So misery, and then let's see what else Prabhupada is saying. It's a big purport. I'm not going to go through everything. As I said, Prabhupada is going to talk about every single word in there. Or of whatever we find, good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing can manifest itself in this material world which is not in Krishna. That is knowledge. Although we know that these things are differently situated, we should realize that everything flows from Krishna. Right? So the purpose Krishna is highlighting all this here is to show us the connectedness of the creation with Krishna. So we don't unintelligently worship everything, but that doesn't mean that if Krishna is everywhere, I start worshiping him everything. But I see a connection to Krishna, and that helps us getting closer to Krishna. So that's an important aspect that we have to understand. So some people might say, that negativity is coming from Krishna, right? So that is why Krishna has actually, let me go back to the verse. So Krishna talks of some very basic qualities, intelligence, knowledge, and so forth. But at one point, he starts talking about dualities. Where is that? This thing. These three are dualities: happiness and distress, birth and death, fear and fearlessness. So there are dualities: sukha, dukkha, bhayam, abhayam, birth and death. So these three dualities are what characterize this world. Right? It is normal to accept that good comes from Krishna, but how to understand that misery is also coming from him? It means that Krishna pervades all existence. It's not that he sends fear, but based on our karma, we get fear, we get these miseries. So who's the director of this whole creation? Krishna. So nothing is outside the jurisdiction of Krishna. But that doesn't mean that Krishna is giving me miseries. Krishna is giving me fear. No, that doesn't mean it. Sun, for example, the sun doesn't send out shadows. But when one turns away from the sun, that creates a shadow. It's not directly coming from Krishna, but indirectly it is coming from Krishna. Right? And there's another verse in the 11th canto which says bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshata sayad. If I remember, bhayam dvitiya, which verse was that? 11 to 37. Is it? Yes, let's see this. So this is 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 37. Bhayam dviti abhinivesheta sayad ishadapitasya viprayo smriti. So what it means is that fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. So what this verse tells me, that I get fear when I turn away from Krishna. Basically, that's what it means. Viprayo smriti. Viprayo means my intelligence has turned away from Krishna. So that's when the fear comes into play. Similarly, so it's not that Krishna is giving it to me, but then it's coming from Krishna. Krishna is the source of everything, but it's not like he's forcing it on me. I made a choice there. And the reason Krishna had to create it, because in the beginning, I wanted to enjoy by myself. And Krishna wanted to just let me know that, Prem-dham, you cannot enjoy by yourself. But Prem-dham kept screaming, no, I want to enjoy by myself. So Krishna says, okay, go by yourself. And when I went by myself, initially it was a fun ride, but then fear started creeping into my heart because I thought, I'm all by myself. Who's going to protect me? There's all these kleshas that come in. Adi Bhutam, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik, all these kleshas coming. So that's the way to understand this. So yes, please, Asmita Mataji, please go ahead.
No, Prabhuji, that was from earlier. Sorry.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
bring the hand down.
Okay, then Ashish Prabhu, yes, please.
Prabhuji, thank you so much. This was really amazing, especially this particular words, right? I mean, everything comes from Krishna, positive and negatives. And if one inclines toward the negatives, they get affected by the potency of Maya.
Yeah.
So, but that part was really, insightful, Prabhuji. But quick question is like, you said when we want to enjoy separate from Krishna, what were we at that time before separation, and what have we become? Like, is it that we have? Yes, that part I'm confused, Prabhuji.
So when we say separate, so technically we are not separate from Krishna. It's just very much think of it as a thick fog, and I cannot see Krishna on the other end. And that thick fog is this illusion that I've created because of Maya. What we were before, look at yourself as in the spiritual world enjoying with Krishna. In different, you could have been in whichever rasa it may be. You could have been a friend, like a parent, or whatever relationship might be. So we were all enjoying there. But because of my tiny free will, we always have a probability of falling down. And that falling down means that I just thought, hey, Krishna is enjoying so much. Why can't I enjoy? That moment, I separated myself from Krishna because I said, my pleasure is being, I need to do that. So that's where I got separated from Krishna. So it's very much like I'm in a deep sleep right now. It's not like I'm not in connection with Krishna. I'm just in a sleep, and there is a metaphorical distance between me and Krishna. That's what has happened. So initially I was awake and I was enjoying with Krishna. I went into a deep sleep where I wanted to enjoy by myself, but then all this fear, happiness, distress, everything comes along with it. And I'm trying to enjoy it, but I cannot, because by nature I cannot enjoy by myself. I have to enjoy with Krishna. That is my true nature. A hand cannot eat the food itself. It has to supply it to the stomach, and then the stomach will give the nutrition to the hand. But if this hand says, no, I'll enjoy by myself and keep the food with it, nobody's going to be benefited from that. So that's what we were, and that's what we have become, bro.
Got it, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I mean, one more thing is follow-up question is, we know in the material world, whatever we experience is a perverted reflection of what it means in the spiritual world. But when you say we were happy when we were Krishna, so right now, I mean, is it equal to the happiness that we feel when somebody appreciates us? Not equal. I mean, can't even imagine times that. But is it like, is that the happiness, or is it like a different kind of happiness that we don't even know about? For example,
It's a different kind of happiness. It's not experience. It's just not experience. We cannot. It's very much like how to say it. Like a mother's love for a child. Prabhupada tells us that that's the purest form of love in this world a mother has for a child. Imagine that multiplied by 1,000. That's the kind of love Krishna has for us. And practically, I just cannot even comprehend what that means. I just can listen, read it, and try to imbibe it in my heart. But it's probably thousands and thousands of folds higher than what we can even experience here in this world.
Got it, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. because
Yeah.
we tend to be happy in the little happiness I get from, like, somebody appreciates me, or somebody, like,
Yeah.
mainly, if somebody, we end up helping somebody for even a moment, without keeping us in the mix, then we realize that little glimpse of happiness, that okay, we spent the day or did something. Maybe there was also something involved in that. Maybe you're doing some volunteers, or but yeah, there is something that you were not expecting a perk for. So maybe that's what
Yeah.
a
That
gazillion times that must be that happiness, I believe.
Yeah. Yes. So that's the right happiness when we do something selflessly. So we get a hint of that happiness, but when we come in interaction with Krishna, that happiness is multifold higher. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Babuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So yeah, so we have discussed this part. This is 4 and 5. Okay, so 4 and 5, Krishna is talking about some qualities. These are basically abstract qualities that Krishna has brought out here. Okay, so now if we go to sixth verse, there Krishna is going to talk about people. So here he's saying all the qualities are coming from me. I'm the source of everything. Not that he's forcing me to imbibe those. That's a choice that I have. So similarly, he's going to go into the next one. He's saying that the 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. So here now, Krishna will tell how people are coming from him. Earlier it was qualities. Now he's saying all the inhabitants of the world also come from me. So 7 great sages, and then the 4 other great sages. 4 great sages are the 4 Kumaras: Sanat, Sananda, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara. So 4 Kumaras, that's it. And then there were 7 sages: Marichi, Angira. I forgot the names. It's given in the 3rd canto if anybody is interested. 3rd canto, it comes, I think, in the 12th chapter, I think, somewhere around that. Yes. So as you might have read, all of you have read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma creates Rudra, and then Rudra was in an angry mood. So Brahma said, okay, you get into some tapasya. Then he starts creating the others, and so that's how he created the population. So this is genealogy. So genealogy basically is the science that refers to the races and origin of ancestors. So in Bhagavatam, we see a lot of this, right? That this is the son of this is the son of this. So Krishna here is not necessarily focusing on the technical details here. He's just giving a transcendental perspective to it. He says that I am the origin of everything. There are so many people who are proud of their origin. Oh, my grandfather was a big scientist and he was doing this or something of that. He was a doctor, and so we all are proud of our ancestors, but Krishna is taking the fascination out of it and saying that I am the original root of everything. Right? So that's what it's being mentioned here. So earlier it was qualities and now human beings. And the important part, which I have highlighted earlier, is that it's all now relationship to Krishna. It's no more Paramatma, no more Brahman, no more vague references to himself, a very clear reference. It's coming from me. Everything is coming from me. Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, which is known as Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha literally means golden womb. Right? So it poetically translates as the universal womb. So so he's talking about so we know, right, that there are gotras. We all have gotras and Brahmins. So those gotras are coming from the 7 sages. So that's it. So Krishna is giving it in more of from a transcendental perspective, all this, not necessarily giving details. So earlier were qualities, and now is the
Huh?
people.
Huh?
What time is your thing?
So now are the people. Okay, so let's see what else Prabhupada is saying. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. Okay, so yes. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yuveti tatvatah so vikalpena yogena yujjate natra samshaya. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So, etam vibhutim yogam cha. One who understands my vibhuti, that I am the source of all the qualities out there, all the people out there, then that person is engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. So, Prabhupada translates the word yogam as mystic power. So, it's mystic power. So, in earlier also in the 9.9 chapter, there was where Prabhupada said that it's mystic opulence. He gave the definition of yoga as mystic opulence. So, Vibhuti and yoga, who understands that? Tattvataha, in truth. So, Tattvata means truth. Right? Tattvata, the word tattvata, or the word in English, the word in toto, right? So the word in toto, in totality, comes from tattvataha. So tattvataha, in toto, who knows somebody in completeness, that person is doing pure devotional service. In 4th chapter also there was this verse, Jan karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tattvataha, who knows my birth and karma. So, yes, Puja Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just was wondering, is it accurate to describe then the meaning of the word tattva as in toto to other people? Because the word tattva is used to describe so many things.
So
Like,
many
I find
things like
it's showing up in many places. Like there's Maha Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, Pancha Tattva, and like I don't know. I feel a bit unclear about what this word is actually describing.
yeah. So when you say panch tattva, so tattva is the meaning of the word tattva is absolute, right? So it's absolute. So when you say Vishnu tattva, we say, so Vishnu, so it's coming. So so it means absolute. Tattva means the absolute knowledge in one sense. So, but yes, you're right. We might not use the word tattva everywhere, because here specifically the word tattva is being used to describe Krishna. Right? Or not necessarily Krishna, is being used here to describe one who knows Krishna in completeness in tattva, tattvataha, right? But yes, you're right. It comes as different in different places. So when you are explaining it to somebody, if you explain it as tattvata means being the absolute, from that perspective, it is okay to use.
But from what you're saying, it kind of sounds like even though we're using the word tattva in different contexts, it's
Mhm.
referring to something being complete. Like if I'm using the word pancha tattva, it's referring to the completeness of the Lord's appearance in this form.
Yeah, and if Prabhupada is translating tattvata here as factually, so as a fact, as a comprehensible fact here. So from that perspective, when we say Krishna, that we want to know Krishna at tattvataha, as a reality, so we can practically experience it. So then it becomes tattvataha.
Well,
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Prabhu.
Hey,
Are
yeah,
you saying something, Prabhu?
yeah, my wife gave me something, but even the Paramatma, no more Paramatma, no more this, it's only Krishna. What was that point a few minutes ago?
Oh no, what I was saying was that this chapters now, they don't, Krishna is not referring to his Paramatma or the Brahman feature. Here he is completely referring about himself in the Bhagavan feature. That's what I was saying.
Okay. That's important though.
Yeah.
The separation and that at different times we have to have a proper perspective of what he's trying to do. That's why I like this class, because you do break it down, so then I can look at the picture, with a little bit more clarity. So I appreciate that.
Okay. Oh, I just realized we are at 8:33. I'll wrap up here. We'll continue the discussion, Puja Mataji, the Tattva part. Let's discuss it more when we come back next time, or when I meet you, probably over the weekend. We can discuss it in more detail.
Sounds good. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we're already over time. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll meet next week. We'll continue from this verse, 7th verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.